Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to go through three questions that people got stuck on regarding simultaneous equations, the work from last week, and they're questions 6, 7, and 8. They were the ones that I noticed a lot of people struggled on. So this video is just going over those three questions. Please skip to the question you got stuck on yourself. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, the first one. The best strategy on this one is probably to multiply everything by 3. And the reason for that is that it removes the denominator from this fraction here, and it makes the question really easy to work with if you just times everything by 3, because then it just becomes integers rather than having fractions in the way. So multiplying by 3 gives us 6x plus 9y equals 2. So that's multiplying everything by 3. Now we're trying to get the numbers to be the same for one of the letters, and the best thing to do is probably multiply the second one by 2, because then it will turn that into a 6 as well. So that'd be 6x minus 8y equals 36. Okay, and there's kind of like what you should do there. Okay, now what we've done is we've got the number for the x's to be the same. Okay, they've both got a 6 in front. Now we don't care about getting the signs to be the same, but we've got the numbers to be the same. Now we look at the sign of, we're going to eliminate the x's because we've got them to be the same, and what we do is we look at the sign of them. So if they're both positive or both negative, we subtract. So remember, if the signs are the same, we subtract. If they're different, we add them. So we're going to take away these two expressions from each other, but we need to be careful. So 2 take away 36 is minus 34, but 9y minus 8y, that is positive 17y, okay? Because remember, the two minuses make a plus. Okay, then we're going to divide both sides by 17, and that gives us minus 2, so y is minus 2. Okay, and then we need to still find out what x is. Now, some of you did that, but then you kind of stopped and you forgot to work out what x is. Okay, so to work out what x is, we need to sub this y value into one of the equations. The easiest one is probably this one here, because then you don't have to worry about adding and taking away fractions. So it's 3x take away 4 times minus 2. Now I always write my negative numbers inside brackets, because if I type that in the calculator, it will evaluate it correctly. So then that's going to be 3x minus 4, that minus belongs to 4, times that minus 2 is positive 8. That equals 18. Take away the 8 from both sides, that gives us 10 equals 3x, and divide both sides by 3, so that's 10 over 3, so that equals 3 and a third. So they are your answers, 3 and a third. Okay, so that's the answer. Y is minus 2, x is 3 and a third, or 10 over 3. Now it's probably best to leave it as a fraction rather than some recurring decimal. Now okay, how do you do this particular one? This is a non-linear one. Okay, so first of all, this is question 7, by the way. We leave the top one alone. We leave that alone for now. And then what we do is we take the second one, the one that hasn't got the x squareds in, and we try and get one of the letters on its own. So the easiest letter to get on its own is probably this y. If we get the x on its own, we have to divide by this annoying minus 3, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so to get the y on its own, we should add the 3x to both sides, and we're left with y equals 13 add 3x. Now we need to now remember how this works. We've got the y on its own, so wherever a y appears in the first equation, i.e. here, we can replace it with this expression here. We're substituting it, we're replacing it. But whenever you replace or substitute something, you should always write it in a bracket, and then you'll never go wrong. So it's going to be x squared plus, open bracket, 13 add 3x, close bracket, squared equals 25. Now, okay, what we should do now is expand that double bracket. So remember, if a bracket is being squared, that means there's two of them. So in the margin over here, I'm going to write the brackets out twice, and and expand it. So that's that times that is 169, that times that is 39x, that times that is 39x, and that times that is 9x squared, and that those middle two simplified to 78x. Okay, so we're going to replace that here. X squared add 169 add 78x add 9x squared equals 25. Okay, so now we need to collect like terms. So x squared and that 9x squared is going to give me a 10x squared. And then I'm going to write in the correct order. I'm going to write the x term next and the number on its own at the end. Okay, now some of you tried to factorize this, and obviously it kind of led to some dead end and you didn't get the right answer. But remember, quadratic equations need to equal 0. So you need to get 0 on one side. So in order to get 0, we should minus that 25 from both sides. So then that equals 10x squared plus 78x plus 144 equals 0. And that's the quadratic we need to solve. Now, one thing you should notice is that if every term can be divided by something at this stage, then divide it by something. So here, for example, all the terms are even, so we can half everything. So if we half everything, it just kind of reduces the numbers we have to work with a little bit, so we can half everything. So solving this is equivalent to solving that. So they're both the same equation, we just kind of half it. And then technically speaking, we are halving everything, even the 0, because what's 0 divided by 2? Well, it's still 0. So we are, dividing everything by 2, including the 0 as well, but 0 divided by itself is still 0. Sorry, 0 divided by 2 is still 0. Now we need to solve that equation. Okay, in order to solve this quadratic equation, there's kind of different approaches really. You could use a quadratic formula, but then there's quite a lot of multiplication, and you have to square root something at the end, and if you don't know the square root of that number, it can be a bit tricky without a calculator. I'm going to teach you different strategies for this. Okay, so one of the strategies, remember, is to do the first times the last. So 5 times 72 is 360. And so we need to find two numbers that multiply to that and add to the middle number. Okay, now it's kind of tricky to find those two numbers that multiply to 360 and add to 39, but they are 24 and 15. Now it takes a bit of trial and error to figure out what they are, and you do need to know your times tables quite well in order to do it. And then remember the procedure. Once you've found the two numbers, you write them in the middle, you replace that term with those two numbers in any order, writing an x next to them, like so, and then you chop it in half, like this, and then you factorize the left-hand side first, so 5x bracket x plus 3, and then they factorize the right-hand side, so it'd be positive 24 bracket x plus 3. You should notice the same bracket appears twice, so that's one of the brackets, and then whatever's in front, i.e. this and this, is the second bracket, and that equals 0. So the answer is x equals minus 3. Remember, what value of x makes that bracket 0? Minus 3. Or x equals negative 24 over 5, which is the same as minus 4.8. And then, don't forget, you still need to work out what y is. So remember the rearrangement we had, 13 plus 3x. You've got to put both values of x into the equation one by one. So we're going to do the minus 3 one first. So 13 plus 3 times minus 3. Okay, so 13 take 9, which is 4. So y equals 4. Okay, then you're going to put minus 4.8 in. So y equals 13 plus 3 times minus 4.8. And I think that's minus 1.4. So y equals minus 1.4, and they are your two solutions. Now, just going back a stage, it's difficult to get from that expression to this double bracket if you don't know your times tables too well. The numbers can be a bit tricky in order to do that. I'm just going to show you another method that you can factorize quadratics, and that method is just basically guessing, really. Okay, so I know that, and what I do is I write the double brackets above each other like this. And I know that because 5 is prime, one of the brackets has to start with 5x. and the other one has to start with an x, because no other combination is going to multiply to 5x squared. It has to be that and that, because 5 is prime. Okay, so one of the brackets has to have a 5x, the other one has to have an x. Now the last two numbers, whatever they are, the last two numbers have to multiply to 72. So first of all, I take a guess. So for example, 7 multiply 72, 9 times 8, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so 9 times 8. But what I then do is I do a bit of crisscrossing. So I multiply. Oops, let me get my pen again. I multiply these two together. So I multiply these two together. So 5. Oh, and by the way, it's positive 72, isn't it? So they both need to be positive 9 and positive 8. I multiply these two together, that's 45x. And then I multiply these two together, which would be 9x. But you can see that those two do not add to 39. So I know that these are wrong. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try something else. So what I'm going to do is, let me delete some of this. Because I tried 9 and 8 already, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this 9 by 3, so that's going to give me 3. And then because I divided this one by 3, divided by 3, I'm going to times this one by 3 to make sure that it multiplies to 72. So 9 times 3 is 24. I'm going to try these here. So think about it like a seesaw act. I like to think about it as a seesaw. So I took the 9, I divided it by 3. It gives me 3. But because I divided the 9 by 3, to keep it the same, I times the other one by 3 to make it bigger. So look at it. 3 times 24 is 72. So what was I going to say? Oops. So it keeps it multiplying to 72. But if I try it now, if I multiply these two together, 5 times 24. Okay, 5 times 24 is 120, but 5 times, and then 3 times that is, 120x, and 3 times that is 3x. They do not multiply to 39, but what I'm going to try and do is, maybe I've got the order wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and switch them around. I really should have done it on the 9 as well. But I'm going to try the order, because I know, by the way, it was the answer, wasn't it? One of these was the answer. So I'm going to switch the order around. I'm going to put the 24 here, and the 3, I'm going to try it again. So 5 times 3 is 15x. 5x times 3, sorry. And then 24 times x is 24x. And look, they add to 39. So I know this is the double brackets that I need. So one of the brackets is 5x add 24, and the other one is x add 3. So that's just another way, a bit of guessing on that one. Okay, let's get to the last question. Okay, so you might want to pause the video and try it yourself. Otherwise, let's get stuck into it. Okay, so you probably want to rearrange the second one to get the x on its own. So that's going to be x equals, let's write it this way, 2y take away 3. So you add the 2y to the both sides. Okay, then you're going to replace that x there with 2y take away 3. So it's 2y take away 3 squared plus y squared equals 18. Now expanding that double bracket, I'm going to do it quickly. You should really write it out twice. But it'd be 4y squared, you get minus 6y, so minus 12y plus 9 plus y squared equals 18. Okay, so let me delete some of this. So that's going to be 5y squared minus 12y plus 9 equals 18. Okay, make it equal to 0, so we need to take off the 18 from both sides. So that's going to be 5y squared minus 12y minus 9 equals 0. Okay, now the numbers aren't very big on this one, so let's see if we can find... Let's do it the other way. Let's do it with the arrows. Okay, so 5 times minus 9 is minus 45. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to minus 45 and add to minus 12y. So minus 12, sorry. Okay, numbers that multiply to minus 45. So we got, I think it's minus 15 times 3, isn't it? Yeah, it's definitely that. Minus 15 times 3. Because minus 15 times 3 is minus 45. And minus 15 add 3 is minus 12. So they're definitely the two numbers. Okay, writing them in the middle. means you get 5y squared. Let's write it in this order. It doesn't matter which order though. 3y minus 9 equals 0. Okay, chopping in half. Factorize the left hand side, so 5y, y take away 3, and this one's going to be positive 3, y take away 3. So the double brackets are 5, y add 3, y take 3. Okay, so the answers for y is y equals 3, or y equals negative 3/5, or you can write that as minus 0.6. Okay, we still need to find x. Okay, still need to find x. So what was the expression we had for x a moment ago? 2y take away 3. So we need to double the y and then take away 3. So x is going to equal 2 bracket 3 take away 3. 2 times 3 is 6, take away 3 is 3. So x equals 3. And this one's a little bit trickier. X equals 2 times minus 0.6 take away 3. Minus 0.6 times 2 is minus 1.2, take away 3 is minus 4.2. So x equals minus 4.2 is the other answer. And they definitely work. You should always double check that they work at the end, because if you put it into there you should get 18, and if you put it into there you should get minus 3. But remember, they're pairs of answers, so this is one pair and this is the other pair of answers. And whether you write it as a decimal or a fraction, in this case it won't matter too much, because that decimal isn't recurring, it's just minus 0.6. If it was minus 0.6666 recurring, then I probably wouldn't write it as a decimal, but better to be as a fraction. Okay, and I hope that clears that up for everyone. If you're still not sure about solving quadratics, you probably want to go back and watch some of the earlier videos that I made and do a bit of practice on that, because this is all about solving quadratics, everyone.